Alright guys, welcome to Networking Hour. Our third installment of Disciplined Entrepreneurship. Our Disciplined Entrepreneurship lecture is by the author Bill Aulet, who's a professor over at MIT. So our third part of our Disciplined Entrepreneurship Series, we're going to be discussing how does our customer acquire our product. So in the Disciplined Entrepreneurship, there's 24 steps to become a successful startup or a successful business. Within those 24 steps, it's broken down into 6 different components. This slide right here breaks down all the different steps as well as the 6 different category components. The category that we will be focusing on is how does our customer acquire our product. Within those steps, or within that category, the steps we're going to be going through are looking at our decision-making unit, mapping the sales process to acquiring a paying customer, as well as mapping the sales process, the process to acquiring a customer. So, disciplined entrepreneurship is all about focus. It's about narrowing down, funneling down, and getting very specific with your product. When you get very specific with your product, you understand how to sell your product, as well as you understand what your customers are looking for in your product. So, like I said, reaching out to your customers is all about focus and finding the right channels to distribute your product. Now, a quote by Peter Thiel, who's the author of Traction, has a very good quote. In summary, says that if you can find at least one good distribution channel for your business, it is a success. If you spend time looking at several distribution channels and you can't lock down a single distribution channel, your business is pretty much doomed to fail and you're not going to succeed in the business world. So getting to our first step of determining our customer's DMU, or decision-making unit. Now, decision-making unit are all the people involved in the process of buying your product. So they are the economic buyers, the influencers, people that can say, no, you're not going to get that, or ultimately your end user. For an example, if you are a company and you're selling a children's toy, you're selling to not only the child, but most children don't have money or in hand to buy the product. So usually the economic buyer is going to be the parent. So you don't only have to sell to the child, but you also have to sell your product to the parent as well, and because they ultimately have veto power in your decision-making unit. But also, the child might have some friends, and they may be influencers that influence them to buy that certain product. So you want to understand all of the different people in the decision-making unit. You want to define who they are, the champions, the end users, the influencers, the saboteurs, or the people with veto power. Now, the main thing with this is you also want to look at that plays a huge role is in business-to-business sales. The decision-making unit is huge when it comes to business to business. Looking at this, you can see that the facilities manager is going to be our end user, but all these other factors along here make up the decision-making unit within the process. So even though our facilities manager is our customer, all these people have influencing roles as well as veto roles within our decision-making unit. This illustration as well is our operations manager. And as you can see, there's the decision-making unit all around them. So they aren't the only person that can make the decision as a go or no go. In the yellow right here is the main people that are the influencers as well as have veto power to make sure that operations manager doesn't get the product or the service they need. So understanding your decision-making unit can make, by mapping out your decision-making unit, you can understand and be able to sell your product a lot easier by understanding who might be standing in your way or getting your product to your actual customer. So by determining our DMU, you want to map out each person's role in the decision-making unit. Who's involved in the decision-making, if it's finance, the financial department, if it's the higher-ups, and you want to consider any regulations as well as the budgets within your product. Now, I have a question for you. What do you guys believe is the decision-making unit, or the DMU, for a toy company?
Production team.
So yeah, if you're a toy company trying to sell it, a production team might be one of the decision-making units. If you're trying to sell the toy, the decision-making unit could be the economic buyer, so the parent purchasing the toy for the child. So that might play all a different role within the toy company. What do you guys think the DMU is for a business-to-business sales?
Financing department.
Exactly, yeah. The financing department would be one of the main people within the decision-making unit. If the financing isn't going to prove, the amount of money allotted for you, the person to buy the product, then it's pretty much stopped there, and your customer cannot buy their product. What about for you guys' business? Who do you think your decision-making unit for is for your business or your product?
If you go directly for the end user is the decision maker.
Exactly. So if you do have just one, there is a possibility of only being one person being everybody in the decision-making unit. So you can't have just one person making all those decisions. So it doesn't necessarily have to have everybody else, but there is a possibility, and it's rare, where it's just one person making all the decisions. So yeah, that would work. So you really want to map out this entire process of understanding your decision-making unit. It can make sense of all the delays and the obstacles, so you can easily breeze through being able to sell your product. So we come to the next step of mapping out how to acquire our customers' process. So we want to look at how our customers will buy our product, the product sales cycle, as well as identifying the different and the hidden hurdles that we might run into selling our product. So most decision-making processes deal with these 4 steps. Not all of them, but majority of them deals with first someone becoming aware of the product, so realizing that they have a problem or something that they need to solve. Second, they gain interest, so they start looking for different solutions that they can solve their problem with, or a different product or anything like that. Then they move to consideration, which is weighing the options of what they found in their interest process. And ultimately, they move to purchasing the product. Now, another version of this is from Jobs to be Done, which is, this model has actually been around since the 80s. And it maps the process of how people first acquire product all the way to they buy the product and ultimately use the product and how they enjoy the product. So the main thing with this is we want to translate how our products and how our customers get our products. We want to understand how our customers become aware of our product, how they install or utilize our product, and how they ultimately pay for our product, because without them paying, you're not going to make any money for your product. So you want to look at the different, the 19 channels for traction. The book is right there in the top right corner. All these different channels are different ways to get your business noted. So someone can actually get out there and be able to acquire your product. For example, if you do have a business and through the customer acquisition process, you realize that to acquire your customer, a majority of the sales or majority of the people are going online to find a solution to their problem, you wouldn't go to a trade show to try to find customers. What you probably use is search engine optimization, so that it makes it easier for them to find you on the internet. So within that, there's 3 different types of innovation. There's value creation, which deals with creating a product or service that is a little bit more innovative. So you have your traditional cars. An example would be a Prius, which is a little bit more eco-friendly and a little bit more technologically advanced. Value capture, which deals with, for example, the Dollar Shave Club, using the Dollar Shave Club model versus the traditional razor value or razor model. And then you have value promotion, which value promotion actually plays back into is the main thing for the traction in the 19 different models of traction. So value promotion is the different unique ways that you might be able to acquire a customer. An example of this was done by Dropbox. And Dropbox used their existing customers as a kind of a promotional to, if they were able to reach out to or refer other friends or colleagues of theirs, they would actually gain more drive space in their Dropbox. So it was an incentive base for them to be able to get more customers for Dropbox. Now, you want to make sure, you want to put yourself in the customer's shoes. You don't want to, we use the leaky bucket process. You want to keep as much water in the bucket as possible. You don't want to lose any water. You want to keep all your customers, once they find you from point A, you want to keep them all the way, to point 4 to purchase. You want to make that process through all 4 as easily as possible. If you do find where people are falling off of your sales process or customer acquisition, correct it, fix it, de-risk the situation, and try to keep your customers with you in your business process. So overall, you want to understand your customers and be able to optimize the process from point A to point B, and being able to keep them in the process and acquire your customer. This will all help you get to your first steps of calculating your cost of acquisition costs, or your COCA. So we move to step 18, mapping the sales process to acquire a customer. Understanding our customers we want to make our sales process shorter and much more effective for our customers. So to narrow down what we learned in customer acquisition costs, or to how to acquire our customers, we want to narrow it down and dig a little bit deeper. How does our customer learn that they have a problem? And how will they learn about the solution to that problem? So going back a little bit to the customer acquisition, you want to see and make sure that you didn't overlook or anything. You want to accommodate for any sales that you overlooked, for if you did banners, advertising, anything like that. You also want to account for the varied lengths of the different life cycles. You want to account for the different, the percentage of potential customers that you originally had, and that ultimately did not end up purchasing your product. And you want to realize any changes in the customer's decision-making unit. So when you consider different changes over different time frames, and first, when a business initially starts, you're starting to create demand. You're creating that awareness for people. You're doing more direct sales and interacting with a lot more customers. Because of that, you're still having a lot higher of a customer acquisition cost, because you're still trying to refine how you're going to acquire your customers. When you start growing your business, you start moving from doing demand or creating that general demand to start creating order fulfillment. You shift to customers with a bit higher lifetime value, and as you do that, your cost of customer acquisition actually starts dropping. So you start making a little bit more money ultimately. When you fully optimize yourself in the long term, you move from demand and general sales to just client management, maintaining those relationships with your customer. If you already have them, just keep them engaged. Move from indirect marketing and more telecommunicating. So this example is a map of the sales process for a company, and as you can see, they move from direct sales in their very first, in the short term. As the process moves down, direct sales only becomes 25% of the business, with the other 75% being just keeping the customers, maintaining those relationships, and fulfillment of the orders. So ultimately, if you get nothing else from this lecture, understand your customer's decision-making unit. Ultimately, it will help guide you and help you realize any obstacles that may stand in your way of acquiring your customers. You want to be innovative in acquiring your customers, because if you're innovative, they'll be able to see you, which makes it much more powerful and profitable for you. And also, ultimately, you don't want to use a leaky bucket. If you notice that your customers are falling off of finding your product, you want to be able to basically put a stop in the leaky bucket, keep them on track, and keep them within your sales process so they can get from awareness to purchasing very easily. So, some questions. Can you guys provide an example of maybe an acquisition strategy that worked for you guys? A strategy that maybe you guys bought something and it was a catchy way and it helps you buy it?
Yeah, like right now I saw an ad on Facebook for a flip belt, it's called.
Okay.
So it's a belt that it's basically a band with little holes that you can insert your phone and your keys, whatever. So I clicked on the ad, and then I went to the website, and then from there I went to Amazon to see what reviews it had. And then ultimately I don't think that I'll buy it because the bad reviews I saw on on Amazon, I think I will have the same issues that they had. But it to begin with, it looked really, really interesting.
Wow, awesome. Well, one that I had seen was actually a commercial for a kind of a steel tape. You wet it and it turns to tape as strong as steel. It's supposed to be 10 times stronger than duct tape. And what really caught my eye is their advertising for it. They actually wrapped a car with basically steel piping, didn't weld it all, but used the tape to connect all the steel together, and actually drove the car off of a cliff. And the car stuck together better than steel itself. So that was more of an unconventional promotional marketing, but I mean, it gets people interested about your product, and that was an interesting way for them to acquire their customers. Using a different method of the traction. So, in summary, everything that we have going on, we have Aggie I-Corps coming up. So if you guys are interested in Aggie I-Corps, there's a $2,000 cash prize. The closing for it is October 17th, so next Monday. So if you're interested in Aggie I-Corps, it'll end, and you have to register by next Monday. We have Aggie Startup Club. It's the entrepreneurship club. So if you guys are interested, check it out, arrowheadcenter.nmsu.edu/startup. The big thing is we have Aggie Shark Tank next week, October 19th. It's from 4 to 6 in the Las Cruces Convention Center. It's a free event. Get your free tickets at sharktank.nmsu.edu. And since we do have Shark Tank next week, we will not be having networking hour. The next networking hour will be October 26th from 2 to 3 here in this room, and we'll be talking about how do you make money off of your product. So thank you for listening, and have a great day.